Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Originally today I was going to refilm a wishlist plant video, which I sort of felt like I was kind of getting ahead of myself just because I also wanted to do a wishlist update video where I talk about plants that I've already gotten this year that were on my wish list. And so I was just kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself there, and so I kind of took a step back and here we are recording today's video. Yeah, today I want to talk about plants that I've already gotten off of my wish list. I'm going to pop in a note of my wish list and also genera that I wanted to get into this year, which I'm also going to touch in this video. And throughout the year, I also had some wish list plants that weren't really ever on the list. They just sort of, I learned about them and I really wanted them. And so I'm also going to mention those. I guess this is just going to be like a year roundup, I guess, of like plants that I really wanted and kind of want to mention, I guess. The first plant on this list that I crossed off was the Philodendron gigas, which here she is in all of her glory. I love this plant so much. It's in a cute little butt mug. I got this plant off of Facebook Marketplace. I did like a trade for half of it, I guess. It was originally $40, which in my area, it's not that big of a city, so a lot of the plants in like local stores here are kind of a little bit more expensive, and this wasn't even in my local plant stores whatsoever, so I definitely went to go look on Facebook Marketplace for some, and I do not regret it, you guys. I love this plant so much, and I think that still to this day I am so enamored. Is that the right word? I feel like that's kind of like a weird word to use, but it still excites me to this day, and I think that you guys have seen that multiple times throughout like my favorites videos. I absolutely love this plant so much, and just like the texture, this plant does not disappoint. And I remember when I was first literally I was about to go pick this up, and I was kind of scared that it wasn't going to meet my expectations, or that it was kind of going to be underwhelming, or you know, just something. But absolutely, I do not regret getting this plant whatsoever. This plant has the thickest leaves out of any velvet leaf philodendron I've ever felt. I think it's almost as close to an Antherium. Like, it's really thick, and like compared to like the Splendid or even like the Mycans, you don't get this same thickness, I guess. Like, I love this plant so much, and if you guys are, you know, if you have this on your wish list, I definitely recommend you get it ASAP. I think that the prices are like really low, at least in my area. I literally saw one at PLHC the other day for like $8. Granted, it did look a little bit thrown around, but it was on the clearance section. So yeah, if this is on your wish list, I definitely recommend you get it because it is a plant that will not disappoint. Next on this list, I had Philodendron Florida Beauty, which you guys already know. This plant is an absolute favorite of mine, and this plant, look at how big she is. Like, my hand is pretty far back just because of how lengthy this plant is, and it's actually giving me like these multiple arms here, I guess. I don't know what you call that in like scientific terms, but that to me just says that this plant is getting a lot more mature. It's also sort of wanting to like double lobe here, if you guys can see that. I just absolutely adore this plant so much, and I got this at the end of May, and I definitely don't regret getting this whatsoever. It is such a vigorous grower and such a easy plant as well. Like, it's not a plant that I really felt any like sort of adjustment with. Like, I sort of just like treated it like any other philodendron, and it literally just grows so amazingly, you guys. And it also loves to root. If you're getting one of these, or if you're ever planning on purchasing one of these, I would definitely recommend you get it on a moss pole. I have heard that these are a little bit more difficult to propagate, so if you get ahead of that and do like one of these moss poles, you'll definitely have some air layering going on, so you won't have to deal with water rooting it. This glad hands shape was a shape that sort of took me a long time to sort of get used to, but like getting to see it in this more mottled variegation, and also I think the fact that the variegation isn't like stark white, or it's not like silvery, or it's not like something that is just very like more on the cool toned side, I think is what really seals the deal for me on this, because I love the splashiness. I just love everything about this plant in general, and it honestly just makes me so happy. And the bigger specimens, like the more larger, more mature specimens, are absolutely stunning, you guys. Like, I am so obsessed with this plant, and I hope one day I can get it to that point. Definitely don't regret getting this one, and I'm also happy that it's a gift, just because it's always going to sort of remind me of my sister and our mutual friend. The next thing that I sort of want to touch on is not necessarily something that I crossed off of my wish list, but it's a plant that I have sort of scratched the itch for. It is the Antherium forgetti silver. And with this, I kind of also want to include the Crystal X-Lux, but I also feel like Crystal X-Lux is different in its own way, to the point where I can kind of separate that one. And the plant that I'm talking about is my Wavy No ID from Russo Plant Care. I also got this as a birthday present, funny enough. And I really, truly do not regret getting this plant whatsoever. The only Antherium that I've had before this is like the Antherium plodiflorum, which, if you guys have that Antherium, you know how sort of easy that care is. And another thing with that plodiflorum is it was only grown in semi-hydra, so I never really got to experience it in soil. I didn't feel comfortable enough to transition this out from soil into pond, so I just sort of kept it in soil, saw, you know, sort of got a feel for how it would grow in my conditions and in soil for me. And I am gonna tell you right now, I love this thing so much. Like, this is one of the 2 leaves that it has grown in my care, and it is working on another one right here. You guys can see why Antherium forgetti silver has sort of been crossed off of this wish list. I feel like for a long time the forgetti silver, forgettias in general, were a plant that I was kind of 50-50 on. I think that I am so happy with what I ended up with. Like, I would much rather have this over a Antherium forgettii or a Antherium forgetti silver, just because I know what this plant brings to the table, I guess. With the forgettii, I have heard that it's a little bit of a slow grower. From what I've seen, I can only imagine that it's a little bit thinner. Like, it's a little bit on the thinner side of the Antherium spectrum, but this one is so thick. Like, you guys can hear this. Like, she's thick, okay? She's real thick. But, and another thing about this plant is it's actually starting to flower for me, which I feel like such a proud mom, you guys. Like, I don't know, I feel like I need to give a speech or something, because this plant is just such an amazing plant. And Russo Plant Care, buddy, I don't know what the heck you're doing over there, bud, but like, this man is creating some amazing specimens, you guys. This has honestly been one of my easiest plants. I recently just potted it because it was definitely growing really well in its pot, and kind of a little bit too well, to the point where it was drying out a little bit too much. Overall, I am just so happy that this is what I got instead of the Antherium forgetti silver. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the forgetti silver, but I think that this one just checks off a lot more boxes than that one does for me personally. The next plant on this wish list that I crossed off is my Hoya obovata, which this plant has not grown for me as much as I expected it to, I guess. I have heard from other people that this is a pretty fast grower, and it's only popped out 1 leaf, and there is 3 cuttings in here from what I know. And so I was a little bit disappointed. Not necessarily disappointed, but I have definitely adjusted my expectations a little bit, because I know some people say that Hoyas are slow growers, or they're either really fast, speedy growers. And I feel like with Hoyas, you kind of have to wait for them to get started a little bit, and then they'll be like really vigorous growers. So I'm not like putting too much pressure with this plant. I still am so happy to have these like more paddle shaped leaves, and this leaf is just the absolute cutest thing that I have ever seen, and I just want to squish it. It is, oh my god, I just love this plant so much, and I am so happy that I brought it into my collection. I'm not gonna lie, I have repotted this a couple of times just to sort of make sure that things were still moving along, and that, you know, we weren't going downhill or anything. I can verify that we got roots, we got some growth, but I just need to be patient at this point. Here I am being patient. But yeah, overall, 0 regrets about this one. I kind of just wish it was a little bit faster growing, but again, patience is a virtue. Now, the next plant that I had on this list was the Stefania erecta, which I think at this moment I sort of just wanted to get into caudex plants as a whole. I feel like I should have said that rather than add a Stefania erecta to my wish list. But I do have a Stefania suberosa, which I do not regret getting this whatsoever. You guys can see it is absolutely freaking monstrous, you guys, and I just love the growth of this. And in that video, which I was watching it back the other day, and I said that I've always liked Stefanias because, or specifically Stefania erecta, because of those lily pad shaped leaves. And it's not because of my name, it's because of a childhood home, which I completely forgot about that memory. Like, when I watched that video back, it just made me love this plant even more because it is so true. Like, I had a childhood home where we would go to the lake all of the time, and I remember there just being like a big giant like swarm of lily pads on the left of it, and it like I am so happy that I have sort of found a little bit more meaning in this plant. But yeah, definitely I do not regret having this. It has been such a easy plant for me, and honestly it's thirsty. Like, it's surprisingly thirsty. With Codex plants, I have kind of learned the opposite of what, you know, I've been told. Like, in, you know, they kind of want to be dried out, and then like actually getting to experience them, they do not like to stay dry for long periods of time. I think that in the winter, sure, like in the winter they don't really have foliage to photosynthesize off of, so obviously they're going to want a little bit more of a dry period. But in the summer, don't even, I think I was watering this at one point twice a week, and it just got insane. And I did uppot this slightly a bit ago, just because again it was drying out like crazy. But yeah, a plant I definitely don't regret, and I absolutely love this just because it's literally a living sculpture. Like, you will not be disappointed with this plant. You can definitely find very creative and unique ways to sort of display this, and I love this plant so much. Okay, and the last plant that I sort of put on this wish list is of course my Syngonium leucotricha, which I am head over heels for this plant. You guys, I definitely don't regret getting this, and I am so happy with this plant and the specimen that I got as well. I got a pretty mature, I don't want to say mature, but I got a pretty big bulb, I guess would be the right way or terminology to say that. I am so happy that I, you know, got to experience this in its prime, and I'm really excited to sort of experience the growth. I wouldn't say excited, but I am happy to learn from this plant during the colder months, and it's definitely a plant that I'm gonna be like watching like crazy at the beginning of next summer season, and I just cannot wait to experience this growth. Also, with these more Codex plants, I honestly expected them to sort of die off like pretty much as soon as the temperature started dropping, which like I thought they would already be like a stump right now, but I guess not. I just don't know why I assumed that. Now for the other genera that I wanted to get into, the first one being Alocasias, which I say this in the sense that I sort of wanted to get a grasp of these genus in a way that I didn't before. So Alocasias is a big one for me this year, I think. Alocasias I have definitely learned a lot from, and they love light. From what I have experienced, I have definitely learned so much from this genus, and I am so happy that I have, because Alocasias are beautiful, and I'm happy that I've finally gotten a grasp on them, and therefore I can sort of add more to my collection. This year I did add the Alocasia green dragon scale to my collection, and I am absolutely head over heels for this plant as well, you guys. Like, for a long time it was literally just this leaf, so you can imagine how happy I am to get this beautiful leaf. And I don't even think it's fully hardened off right now. It definitely hasn't like gotten its full hue yet, or maybe this is just what it's gonna look like because of the light. But yeah, I am so happy to have this in my collection, and I do have it in Leca. It's just what I've been sort of rehabbing it in, and I'm kind of scared to move it out, so I've just kind of been leaving it the heck alone. I don't know how this would do in pond, just because I do have it in Leca. Leca is very airy and moist at the same time, so I just don't know how this would do in like straight up pond, which is just gonna be moisture all around. And don't get me wrong, pond is airy with a lot of perlite and stuff, but it's definitely gonna have a lot more moisture around the roots than it does as of right now. But yeah, Alocasias I'm definitely a lot more confident with. The next genus that I mentioned was Begonia, which I feel like this is another one that I've sort of accomplished, and I think that that is due to my job currently. If you don't know, I work at a plant store, and I have definitely learned a lot about begonias from this whole experience at my job. I think that being able to care for them has also sort of given me that confidence, because if I were to just ask someone how they care for the begonia, I feel like taking someone's words and putting it into my own care would definitely be a bit of a challenge, but actually getting to water them and actually getting to, you know, feel when they want water has definitely helped with sort of understanding them a little bit more. I did actually get terrarium begonias earlier this year, but those have all perished. The last one I definitely underwatered extremely, and if it's a terrarium begonia, they're going to want moisture consistently. And so, yeah, just a big no-no when it comes to terrarium begonia, and I am sad to see them go, but I'm happy that I got that experience, and maybe I will revisit them at another time in this hobby. Yeah, begonias, I feel like it is definitely a genus that I have sort of gotten down. And then another one that I wrote down was Antherium. Antherium, for sure, I have definitely sort of gained a new confidence with when it comes to propagating, when it comes to caring for them in soil, and just an overall, I feel like I definitely have a bit more of a grasp when it comes to this genus. That honestly alone makes, like, these three right here alone make me feel so good about the year that I've had in this hobby. Another one that I listed was Hoyas. I did get one more Hoya this year, which was my Hoya caudata. I have added 2 new Hoyas to my collection this year, which is better than, like, you know, not adding any, because I didn't have Hoyas in my collection for a very long time. And overall, I think my collection has definitely grown in, like, variety. Like, I have so many different varieties of plants in my collection right now, and it honestly fills me up so much, just because the knowledge that I can gain from all of this makes me feel really, really good. And yeah, anyways, this is the Hoya caudata, which they have fluffy little undersides, and I absolutely love this plant and the new leaves. Honestly, I think Hoyas are what you would get if you put Antherium and a succulent together. Hoyas are so beautiful, and I think with this one, what really, really gets me is those new leaves. They sort of come out this red, deep burgundy red, and did I say red twice? They come out this beautiful red color. And this one, I think the fuzziness and also the flowers are so beautiful on this plant, and I can only hope that one day I will get mine to flower. But Hoyas are something that I've also sort of gotten a grasp of due to my job. I still don't completely understand them when it comes to, like, flowering and things like that. I went out for a little bit and we're back. The next thing on the list that I sort of mentioned was the Ficus shivana. As of recently, I did recently acquire the Ficus shivana, and it wasn't a plant that I was, like, thinking about buying or really, like, looking forward to buying. I guess this plant just kind of slowly got taken down the list as other plants interested me. But yeah, I recently got it for $10, which is crazy for how much these were going before. And yeah, I'm so happy to sort of have this in my collection. This is actually my very first ficus, which will be interesting. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with this plant so far, and I haven't really had that much time to experience the growth. So yeah, I can't wait to experience how this grows. Now, I definitely want to touch on some other plants that sort of came onto my wish list as the year went on. One of the first ones is the maidenhair fern. For a while there, I really got obsessed with this plant, and I am just so happy that I got this plant. I really, really do love this, and I still stand by what I said. It is definitely one of the easiest plants in my collection. I feel like when it comes to, like, finding things easy or hard, it really comes down to the understanding that you have for the plant. And I feel like this one, from the moment that I got it, it was something that I, like, truly understood to a T. This thing, you cannot let it dry out, and I actually should probably, this can probably wait like a day maybe, but you really just do not want to let this dry out. I did recently, it just happened to be in an area where I couldn't reach it, and so it did dry out, and, like, the whole plant crisped off. Like, I promise you guys, there was, like, a handful of little fronds sticking out, but now that I have sort of cleaned all of that off, it is definitely shooting out a whole bunch of growth, and you guys can see all of that back here. I'm so happy with this plant, and I truly I'm just happy to have it in my collection. And at the same time that I received that, or at the same time that I got my maiden hair fern, I also got my variegated Maranta, which is growing a little bit crazy. This vine here is really heavy, so I'm like trying to keep it attached as much as I can. But this plant is such a fast grower, you guys, and honestly, if you can get a cutting of this, I would recommend to do that, just because it might be a little bit easier for you, or it might be more inexpensive, but also you'll get the same reward as if you were growing like just like a 4-inch pot, because honestly this is such a fast grower, and I am so happy to have this in my collection. I'm actually pretty sure this might need a size up pretty soon. I've just sort of been holding off, but I'm honestly pretty sure that this is ready, so we'll see. Yeah, I'm really happy with this plant, and it honestly brings me a lot of joy, and I would definitely recommend getting this. I know it's not like a crazy like rare plant, or it's not anything compared to like a dark phoenix or something like that. It's just like a staple plant, I guess. All right, another plant that I slowly sort of added to my wish list is a Solanum oleanum, which this is actually a terrarium plant, and I am growing it outside in my like ambient conditions, which I am so like grateful for that. And I can only thank Russo Plant Care for that, because he actually grew this out in his ambient conditions. And so the loading, hold on, what is the word I'm looking for? The acclimation from his conditions to mine was like seamless. I really haven't had any issues with this. And another plant that I would definitely recommend getting. This is such a fast grower, you guys. I actually have chopped it back like twice now. I definitely enjoy this, and I think this is a plant that I'm definitely going to share with as many people as I can. I'm already planning on giving my brother's girlfriend a piece, because like I think that everyone just needs to have a piece of this plant, because it truly grows so fast and so vigorously, and it's honestly such an easy plant to care for. Really, it does not fuss whatsoever. I have noticed that if this does dry out, you are going to get some crispy bits, and even if it doesn't dry out, I'm still getting crispy bits. I'm not really sure why that is. I think it might just be my water quality at that point. But yeah, this is a plant that I have definitely been enjoying growing, and I'm just really happy that it's in my collection, because it is such a cool plant, you guys. Like, just look at that. Oh my goodness. And then without the light, it just looks so deep and purple. It is absolutely stunning. These last two plants I do want to include together, just because I kind of got them around the same time, and they're kind of similar in the way that they grow. They are my Carnivorous Plants, which I would definitely recommend if you want a ping or a drosera, get one. They are absolutely like one of the easiest plants in my collection, besides like the whole distilled water thing. They've honestly been such a dream. And this is the Pinguicula pirouette. This sprawly thing up here is the Drosera capensis, or a sundew, and then this right here low to the ground with all these white little flowers is a Utricularia sandersonii. I love every single one of these, and this is also a plant that, like, in those moments where I'm sort of in a funk with this hobby, I am always looking forward to the growth on these. I'm always like sort of like looking on the leaves to see if they've caught anything new. Like, it's just like a different side of the hobby that I definitely am enjoying, and I love both of these so much. Alright, you guys, so that is all that I have for you guys today. I honestly feel so full in where my collection is at right now. I feel really happy with all of the different genera that I have in my collection, and all of the knowledge that I've gained from them as well, like with my Frydek and with my Gygus. Like, I feel like I have definitely learned a lot throughout this whole year, and as we come to sort of this closing point, I honestly feel really happy with where my year is at, and just sort of where my collection is at with, you know, my current mental health and all of that as well. I definitely have been learning to appreciate the journey more than anything else, and it's just a really good feeling. Feel free to let me know any of your guys' wish list plants down below. I would love to explore some different wish list plants to sort of add on to mine too, and I'd love to hear what you guys are interested in as well. I feel like maybe it'll get me interested in it. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I truly hope you enjoyed.